Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome to the Goal Line Hockey Podcast, episode number 15. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the NHL. We have a lot of NHL stuff to get into. I apologize for last week. We did not have a podcast. I had some issues with my carpet in my room. Obviously, when there's a ton of snow, when you have carpet installation, things don't go right. Of course, that's just how it works. So, we had some issues with the studio, but those renovations are done. We are back. Yes, we have the podcast tonight. Yes, we have the power rankings tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Just a quick plug to that. So, let's get into this week's podcast. So, we're going to start off with the standings. We're going to do a standings update. That is a new segment of our podcast. So, looking in the Scotia North Division. At the top, you have the Toronto Maple Leafs leading the way with 23 points. That's 5 more than the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Canadiens have also played one less game, but still, the gap is starting to widen between Toronto and everybody else in that North Division. I'm quite, not that I'm shocked, but everybody was a little bit nervous about Toronto in the beginning of the year. Yeah, those worries have gone away when your record is 11-2-1. Then you've got Montreal at second, not too far behind. Then you've got Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, and Ottawa. And that's where the gap takes place between Vancouver and Ottawa and everybody else. Edmonton, there's still some concerns about Edmonton, but let's be honest, this division is starting to look weak because you've got Vancouver and Ottawa already kind of on the outs. I have to admit, they look like garbage, hot garbage. And I think Vancouver and Ottawa, I hate to say it, they're kind of out of the race already. Vancouver a minus 13 goal differential and Ottawa with a minus 27 goal differential. I would say those teams already are out. So now it's really between Edmonton, Calgary, and Winnipeg for those final 2 spots. So one of those teams will be disappointed, but Vancouver and Ottawa, they're already hanging up the Raptors and getting ready for the draft. In the Mass Mutual East Division, the Boston Bruins starting to take over in the East Division as the Boston Bruins have 20 points so far in 12 games. So they are taking care of business. Definitely a high point percentage between them and everybody else. Filling in second, Washington in third, and then the Islanders and Pittsburgh. This is a big game tonight between the Islanders and Pittsburgh. They both have 11 games. The Islanders have 1 more point. But Pittsburgh, obviously a lot of changes with Brian Burke and Ron Hextall coming in. We'll be looking at that later on today. And then you've got the Rangers, New Jersey, and Buffalo at the bottom of that division. In the Discover Central Division, Tampa Bay starting to take over in that division as well. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers at the top, and then a huge gap between them and everybody else. Chicago, Columbus, Carolina, Dallas, Nashville, and Detroit. Nashville and Detroit already seem like they're out of it in this division, if I'm going to be honest. And I think the record for for Chicago and Columbus, they played more games than Carolina and Dallas. So I am quite concerned about Chicago and Columbus as well. And then in the Honda West Division, kind of the same scenario. We kind of are starting to see 2 teams in each division really drop out. You've got Vegas at the top by a wide margin. Let me just say that. St. Louis behind them, Colorado, Arizona, Anaheim, Minnesota, San Jose, and the Los Angeles Kings. I have to say, I think Anaheim and LA are kind of out of it at this point. And San Jose and Minnesota, who I thought was going to start off the season and maybe make the playoffs this year, they are quite worrisome right now. I am quite worried about Minnesota. They're still in the running, but they're starting to fall off. I would definitely say, though, Anaheim, LA, and San Jose, I was kind of right, guys. They were going to be at the bottom of this division. And it looks like it right now. Overall in the league, you got Toronto, Boston, Tampa, Montreal, and Philadelphia as your top 5 teams in the NHL. Your top point producers so far this season, Connor McDavid leading the way with 27 points. No surprise here, the new two-headed monster. Leon Draisaitl with 25 points. Mitch Marner, 21. James Van Riemsdyk with 18. And there are a couple of players with 17 points to round out the top 5. Patrick Kane, Nicholas Backstrom, and Quinn Hughes. So, with that out of the way, guys, this is, it's time for some news. So, we've obviously been hearing over the past week a lot of news, specifically up in Columbus. Now that Pierre-Luc Dubois, Patrick Laine acquisition has been officially made. Pierre-Luc Dubois has played his first game in Winnipeg, and Jack Roslovic and Patrick Laine have been playing in Columbus. Jack Roslovic got the game winner earlier this week, so congratulations to Jack Roslovic. Really fitting in well there. He was never going to get the top 6 center role in Winnipeg. He finally gets that now in Columbus, and he's doing a really good job with that. Really fits under John Tortorella's system. But obviously there's a bad side to this, because now Patrick Laine, who has scored for Winnipeg, got benched, of course, by John Tortorella, and all the questions about Tortorella are out there, whatever. At the end of the day, is he going to retire this offseason? Maybe. But Patrick Laine came out the other day with a press conference with John Tortorella and said, "I deserve to be benched for what I did." Now, is this going to fly in April or March? Maybe not. But as of right now, obviously something happened between Patrick Laine and the team, or John Tortorella. He may have said something to some of the staff, which may have led John Tortorella to do what he did. And I think he's trying to, especially for the new guys, Roslovic and Patrick Laine, really set the tempo for what the culture is in Columbus. And if I'm going to be honest, it's worked. As much as people hate that, look what Columbus has done the past couple years. Despite losing Panarin, Duchesne, Bobrovsky, they've made the playoffs the past 2 years. So you give them a little bit of credit at the very least. So is it the best thing? No. But in Columbus, you could kind of get away with it. In Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, John Tortorella wouldn't be able to get away with this. But in Columbus, it's a little bit more under the spotlight, which I think works well for that city. In other news, the Pittsburgh Penguins, like I mentioned earlier, a big change-up in their management as they have a new president of hockey operations led by Brian Burke, who has been with the Sportsnet panel up in Canada, kind of the heir to the throne of becoming the next Don Cherry-esque guy who everybody up there hates, but he's really telling you the truth of the game, even though people don't want to hear that. He's kind of that guy. I will miss seeing that on the Saturday night games with him, but he's going to get a job in Pittsburgh, and he's going to be alongside and partnering with Ron Hextall, who is the next general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the interesting thing here, I just want to say a quick plug. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty. I already did that in a video earlier this week where I talked about the Pittsburgh Penguins roster shakeup coming over the next couple months now that we have Brian Burke and Ron Hextall running the Flyers. But if you guys know who Ron Hextall is, he's that big goaltender that used to fight in the 80s and 90s for the Philadelphia Flyers, right down the road, southeast of Pittsburgh. Yeah, those guys. He's now running the Pittsburgh Penguins. So now it's going to be interesting to see. Ron Hextall kind of built the Philadelphia Flyers team that they have today. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does here with Pittsburgh, because he was building up a really good blue line in Philly. And a lot of the guys they have today are because of Ron Hextall. Guys like Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier, Ivan Provorov, Robert Haig, Travis Sanheim, Shane Gostisbehere. You know who brought most of those guys in? Yeah, it was Ron Hextall. So, is he going to make Dave Hextall the coach like he did in Philly? Probably not. But the Philadelphia Flyers, they have the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have Mike Sullivan, they have Brian Burke as the president of hockey operations, and they have a really good general manager in Ron Hextall, who, remember, he won a Stanley Cup in 2012 with the Los Angeles Kings as well, an assistant role. So there's obviously some success there. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of trade rumors we hear out of Pittsburgh. I'm going to really be keeping an eye on that, because we've already been hearing some interesting things about Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and potentially Chris Letang. I think the most likely guy we'll see get moved is Chris Letang out of those three guys, but I think Pittsburgh plan, according to what Mario Lemieux, the owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins, has been saying, is he wants to keep those three guys there and make them forever Penguins. Will that happen? We may have heard the same things about Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton at one point, even guys like Brent Burns. But if the right deal is on the table, you can move out some money. Would Pittsburgh consider it? So these are the kind of things that, again, it doesn't feel good. Oh, you can't trade Crosby, you can't trade Malkin, you can't trade Letang. Listen, if the deal is right, they're going to make that move. That's just how this works. That's how it works, because Ron Hextall and Brian Burke, at the end of the day, have to worry about keeping their jobs. They're not going to be all that worried, I hate to say it at the end of the day, about Crosby and Malkin. Now, I hate to say it at this point. I think whatever team gets those guys is getting diminishing value, but I would be more interested in the Chris Letang stuff this summer, because supposedly there was a close deal with St. Louis where it would be like Vince Dunn for Letang in some sort of deal. I don't think it would have been 1-for-1, but again, and we've heard Chris Letang has gotten some flack from Brian Burke in the past. So does that play into a potential deal we see sometime this summer? Don't be surprised if we don't see much from Pittsburgh over the next couple months. It's more of an evaluation period, which I'm happy about as an Islander fan, because I don't want Pittsburgh to get any better or worse at this point, because the Islanders just have to beat Pittsburgh. That's all I care about. Because that team, let's be honest, Buffalo, New Jersey, and the Rangers, unless the Rangers go on a miraculous run, right now it's the Islanders and Pittsburgh for that final spot in the East. So a lot of stuff going on in Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens. Will we see a Crosby-Malkin trade? I don't think so, but we're going to have to watch over the next couple months. Really watch those articles in Pittsburgh, and I will be keeping an eye on that, because there may be a big shift in Pittsburgh. We've heard actually Brian Burke come out in December actually say, Jim Rutherford has his work cut out for him, and let's be honest, this team is not very good. They're not good enough to win in that East, in the Eastern Conference in general. Are they better than Tampa? Are they better than Toronto? I would say no at this point. Are they better than Philly? Are they better than Washington? So is that going to play into how the Pittsburgh Penguins handle things? Are they going to do a quick retool real quick? Or is it too late, because now Malkin and Crosby are already starting to see their point production drop? So who's going to be that third goaltender for Pittsburgh to win another championship? They've already had Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury. Will it be Tristan Jarry or Casey DeSmith that leads the Penguins to another cup run, another cup in Pittsburgh? We're going to have to wait and find out. All right, guys, so we have a lot of comments, and we are going to be getting into some of those this week. Thank you guys, as always, for leaving your comments in the comment section down below, and maybe, just maybe, you will have your question heard in next week's podcast, but you can't do that unless you leave some comments and feedback in the comment section down below. So, on my most recent video with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Kenny Bogeski says, get freshman players and get a new captain. I think that's a little bit overboard. I think he's trolling a little bit. I'm not saying that. Raheem Bashir, this video does really well. Potential NHL expansion relocation states. I may have to redo this video and look at other locations. But Raheem Bashir, I appreciate the comment. I think the NHL will expand to 34 teams. Not sure when that will happen, maybe 2025 or later, and it will be Houston and Quebec City. It will happen around the same time. Okay. I hate to say it. I hate to bust your bubble. I'd love to see more expansion. We are here in 2021, and 2025 or later, it's going to be later. I don't even think the NHL will look at another expansion, I hate to say it, for at least 10 years. The reasoning for that is, you look at the state of the economy right now, and there's a lot that could be going on good, but especially with the fact that with the pandemic the past year now, which is quite scary, the past year, the NHL is not focused on expansion. And the problem is, they would be interested in expansion because of the money they're getting, which I think Seattle is saving the NHL with the amount of money they're putting in. Nobody's going to be giving up $600 or $650 million right now to put an NHL franchise in Quebec or Kansas City. No private owner is going to do that, because everybody's kind of, strapped on the money right now. So we're not going to see that for at least 10 years. I think 2031 is the earliest we even talk about it. And I hate to say it, from that point, we may start hearing about Houston and Quebec City. If Houston isn't a relocation city from potentially Arizona or Florida, which I hope we don't see that. I want to see more southern cities expanded, not relocated. Especially as an Islander fan, I hate the idea of relocation because I know there's a good fan base in Arizona. And let's be honest, the fact that Vegas has worked out the way it has, obviously hockey works in the desert. You just have to have the right ownership and the right management. And I don't know about the right management right now in Arizona, especially with what just happened with John Chayka. But with Alex Marullo as the owner, I think the Coyotes, let's put it this way, Gary Bettman, that's his baby in Arizona. He is going to do everything possible to make it work in Arizona. So don't be surprised if they last that as long as possible. I was going to say, 2035 will be the next expansion we see. I'm calling it right now. But it will not be anything sooner than that. Like I said, we might start hearing, like Vegas and right now Seattle, we're going to hear talks and rumblings around 2031. But like I said, not going to be a new team until potentially 2035, which that's 15 years from now. So we still have a long time till then. But like I said, this pandemic thing is really going to put that stuff on hold. Could it go back sooner? But again, looking at the way it works right now, this is like a 9/11 situation in 2001, where the economy is just a little bit off right now, and it's a little bit of a reset. So I don't think we're going to see new NHL teams. Nobody's going to be barking up $650 million like Seattle did a couple years ago for an expansion NHL team. We're just not going to see that right now. Another comment from that video, Arizona is moving to Houston. No, they're not. I hate to say it. I could bet money they will not move to Houston. I'm saying that right now. Seriously. They want a team in Houston, but like I said, 2035. I'm telling you, it's not going to be any sooner because the only way that Arizona is going to move out is the arena situation, and that could actually happen. They may have to move out of Glendale, Arizona, but I just don't see. Gary Bettman will almost build his own arena in Arizona to make that team work there. I'm telling you, there's too much of an ego there. He's going to make that work. Maybe if they make enough money off the Kachina jerseys, which they might, it may save the Arizona Coyotes. I swear to God, those jerseys are beautiful. Donnell Weaver on my reverse retro, opening the Ottawa Senators. Right there, guys. Check out that video. I did open that jersey, and I review that jersey as well. But Donnell Weaver says, the Senators reverse jersey is an okay look. Not bad. So when are you going to get a reverse retro jersey of any of the local teams in the New York area? Of the Islanders, Rangers, or Devils? That's a good question. They aren't my priority. I hate to say it. And the problem is, too, the New York Islanders, see, I understand. I knew when I was getting into this jersey situation. I made sure to check Reddit. I made sure to check everything. In terms of what jerseys we're going to sell first. The Arizona Coyotes one, I have that. Tampa Bay, I have that one. Vegas, I didn't want the Vegas one, but I know that one sold out like a hotcake. And the other one, what was the other one that I have that I made? Oh, Washington. I knew Washington was going to sell, and I don't have that jersey, which I wish I did. But that I knew going into when they were releasing these jerseys, my priorities of which ones I had to get first before they sold out, and the ones I could get later on. And let's be honest, the Islanders one, I'm not like a huge fan of it. I hate to say it, I can't even spend $25 on a Rangers jersey, a step-on jersey on eBay. So you know I'm not spending $200 something on a reverse retro. And the Devils one is interesting. Out of the three New York teams, the New York area teams, Donnell Weaver, which I think you have all three, which is quite cool. So I do appreciate that. That's pretty cool to see that, supporting the New York area teams. The Devils one, I really like that green jersey with a little bit of red. If I'm going to buy a reverse retro for the New York area, the order would be the New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, yes, the Islanders are not first, and then the New York Rangers, which I hate to say it, I just scratch the Rangers one because I'm not buying that jersey. But I appreciate that, Donnell Weaver. You're always commenting, which I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Repping the New York area, as always. And And yeah, that's probably what I would do. Probably the New Jersey Devils first, the New York Islanders, and then potentially the Rangers. But let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Justin Van Kirk. Dylan Holloway, Edmonton first-round pick, is tearing it up at Wisconsin. I don't know why he put that in the video, but I appreciate that, Justin Van Kirk. I'm talking about RFAs in the NHL, or UFAs in the NHL. But Justin Van Kirk, I know you've got a lot of scouting stuff, so I appreciate that, you dropping those little bombs. Yeah, Dylan Holloway. I have to do a video on Wisconsin because you have Keandre Miller, who's right now with the New York Rangers, playing over 20 minutes a night. Look at this kid, this rookie with the New York Rangers, playing really well. He was in Wisconsin last year. And this season, you have guys like Cole Caulfield and Dylan Holloway return to Wisconsin, and they are playing pretty well. Not toward the top in that division in the Big Ten, but they're playing fairly well. So I do have to do a video on that, Justin Van Kirk, so I appreciate that. Josh Horn. On that expansion video, I have to do more expansion videos. That video is, I made that video like a year and a half ago, and I'm still getting a ton of comments from it. He said, what about Milwaukee as a potential city? Maybe I could do a video on that, so stay tuned for that. I think I'm going to talk about Milwaukee. They obviously have the Milwaukee Brewers, which is a baseball team. The Milwaukee Bucks, yeah, they have a basketball team as well. I think it's like Houston. I think there's a big enough market. But the question is, where's that? Milwaukee, Missouri? How much of an expansion is that from St. Louis? Right? So that's something. Milwaukee. Is that Wisconsin? Milwaukee. I'm definitely saying that wrong, aren't I? Milwaukee. Yeah, see, now it's bringing up the tool brand. Wisconsin. See, I know my stuff. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let me look at a map because where is Milwaukee? Okay, so here's something to keep in mind. That is an interesting place. I didn't actually think of that. But the problem is, you run into this. You are a certain distance from a lot of different teams. You may be asking, what do you mean? To the right, you have Michigan, the Detroit Red Wings. And a little bit further west or east is Columbus. You also have down the road, down south, is Chicago. And then a little bit northwest is the Minnesota Wild. So is there enough of a market to tap there for a full-on NHL franchise? I think you could make it work. There's also Indiana, which isn't too far away. Iowa, would that work? I just don't think there's enough people in Iowa. But Milwaukee, there could be something to that. Would the NHL expand that? Like I said, I may have to do a full video on that. But Milwaukee is an interesting location. So I appreciate that comment, Josh Horn. M Bakes, good content. Thank you for that. So Nicholas Smith says, so good they are in last place. What's going on in the East? Yeah, he's making fun of the Islanders for being last in the East. Well, they aren't last in the East, actually. They're in the playoffs. It's too early in the season. You can't say stuff like that. The Islanders aren't great right now, but like I said, if you've seen my videos, again, you're a little late to the party, bud. You could always go back. You could go to a video 2 years ago I made about a prediction I made and say, oh, you're wrong. Yeah, I mean, where's your prediction from 2 years ago? I mean, whatever. So I appreciate the comment, Nicholas Smith, but you didn't really give me much there. And I don't really know what you mean. I'd love to give a shout out to this, but this guy is from China, or he just has a Chinese name. I'm not sure what that is, but I appreciate the comment. He says, if the Canucks don't re-sign Pedersen, it says Peterson on here. If the Canucks don't sign Pedersen and Hughes, in my opinion, they are screwed. So I'm gonna have to make another video on that, because that's a video I made a couple months ago about a contract update on Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. Things have changed since then. Elias Pettersson has struggled this season. Quinn Hughes is a top 5 point producer. No, not on the Canucks. No, not in the Western Conference. In the entire NHL. He has 16 or 17 points this season. He is leading the NHL in points for defensemen. He's a Norris candidate right now, which is pretty insane. But I'm going to have to do an update on that because we're not going to see the same contract for Hughes and Pettersson. Pettersson is probably going to get a lesser term deal at a lower dollar amount. Quinn Hughes will likely get a longer contract at probably a longer duration. I think he's deserved that long contract based off of how he's playing right now. The only problem is Vancouver's running out of cap space. So that's something to keep in mind. But the Vancouver Canucks, this is going to be interesting over the next couple months. I have to do a video on Vancouver because now we're hearing about Jake Virtanen trade rumors. We've been hearing about potentially an Olli Juolevi trade. There's a lot going on in Vancouver. I'm going to have to do a video on that this weekend. But I appreciate the comment there. John Weichel says, TJ Brody suck at defender. Somebody liked it, so it must be true. Okay, so David Tosh, again, on that relocation video, said add more NHL teams in the desert besides Arizona, Coyotes, and the Vegas Golden Knights. San Diego is the good location for the NHL team, and so does Houston. And then Chris W. responded, San Diego? Hell no. The fact that there's already 3 teams in California makes me want to puke. Okay. So, what we have to unravel here is Chris Tosh has a point. We need more desert teams. The problem is, this is what I was talking about earlier with Milwaukee. Is there enough of a population? In Arizona, I was talking to someone the other day, and it was like, what is there to do in Arizona, really? So, because there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot really going on out there. So, do you really want to put another franchise in an area that's not really working? Well, the problem is Vegas works, and it's in the middle of the desert. So now it just doubles down on the NHL's argument that hockey can work in the desert. We're seeing it work. If you have good ownership and management, you can make it work pretty much anywhere. San Diego is interesting because right now we have a team in San Diego, which is the Anaheim Ducks AHL affiliate, the San Diego Gulls, led by guys like Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. Don't be surprised if they win the Calder Cup this year in the AHL for best team in the AHL. I think they're testing that market. There's a couple problems though. That arena, not NHL caliber arena, so you need a bigger arena. 2, you literally have a team in Anaheim, which is right there, and the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings are very close to each other. So do you want to put a third NHL team right in that LA area? I don't know. I think that's a little bit too much. Houston, like I talked about earlier, if we're going to see Houston, it's going to likely be by an expansion in the next 15 to 20 years. I don't think we're going to see it in this current point right now. I just don't think we're going to see it. With the climate of the economy and everything, it's going to be a while before we see another NHL team expanded in the NHL. Like I said, nobody's going to be forking over the millions of dollars to bring in hundreds of $1 million to bring in an NHL franchise right now to their city. So I don't think you're wrong. I think we could see Houston. San Diego, I like that, thinking out of the box a little bit. Obviously, with all the beaches and everything down there, it's beautiful. I definitely want to go there someday. But there's too much going on right now at once. There's a lot going on in that area already with San Jose, Anaheim, and LA. Anaheim and LA are right down the road from each other. Do you really want a third team? And the question is, would Anaheim and LA, because I think there's a 100-mile radius, if there's a team in that radius, they have to ask for permission to have a team in that city. And would both the Ducks and the Kings sign off on that? Just something to keep in mind. So I appreciate the comment, David Tosh, but I think it's a little bit of a long shot. PR said, good stuff, bro. And I appreciate that. Thank you, PR. Ali Desh, guys. Hashtag yo. That's my boy. You think the Isles are in trouble, bro? I live in Ottawa. You're getting no sympathy from me. Oh, you only have 8 points. We have 3 points. Yeah, I know. The Senators suck this year. So I appreciate the love, Ali Desh, as always. I appreciate the support, and I hope you like seeing that jersey right behind me there. So, There you go. I got my Sens jersey. I did tell you, I kind of gave you a sneak peek at that. But again, it was timing. I had to find it at the right place for the right price. We were able to get that reverse retro jersey. So I appreciate that, Ali Desh. So that is going to be it for this week's comments, this week's podcast. It's 30 minutes, which I know you guys like the shorter podcast, but I think we got a lot packed in this week. Obviously, we had last week off, so I was full of life and ready to go for this week's podcast. So I appreciate the support as always. Just want to give a quick shout out to Ali Desh, PR, David Tosh, John Weichel, Nicholas Smith, and Bakes, Josh Horn, Justin Van Kirk, Donnell Weaver, back in the fold, Jimmy Hockey, Raheem Bashir, and Kenny Bageski. Thank you guys all for your comments. And guys, like I said, if you want to have a shout out on next week's podcast, make sure to give this podcast a big thumbs up, and even bigger subscribe down below, and make sure to leave your thoughts on the NHL this week. Any of your thoughts in general, just let me know in the comment section down below so you could have your voice heard on next week's podcast. Guys, we do a podcast every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. and we do a weekly power rankings every Friday night at, you guessed it, 6 p.m. Eastern. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great week.